Rain lashed against the steel ramparts of Bastion 7, the last human fortress east of the rift. Torchlight flickered in long-abandoned alleyways. Somewhere in the ruins, something ancient stirred. Cale didn't remember his name until the fourth day after waking up in the corpse pit. He clawed out of the pile of half-rotted bodies, covered in blood not entirely his own. His heart beat, but strangely, hollow, off rhythm, and in his chest, not pain, not confusion, but a throb of need. "Hunter class," someone muttered when he stumbled into the outskirts of the fortress. "Look at his eyes." It wasn't the gold-ringed irises that scared them. It was the second pair of pupils, swirling slowly like twin galaxies inside each eye, a mark of the hollow-born, the kind who shouldn't exist. In Bastion 7, every new hunter had to bind a bone shard, a fragment of a divine beast slain centuries ago. The rite either killed you or gave you power, sometimes both. They gave Cale the weakest shard, from a broken fang of the cave lurker. It was supposed to ensure he failed. No one expected the shard to melt the moment he touched it. And then came the voice. "You're not meant to borrow their power, Hollow One. You are meant to devour it." The Rite Master screamed. Cale's arm had transformed, sleek, black-veined with silver bones pulsing underneath. Not beast, not human. Something else entirely. From that moment, the Divine Hunter Council marked him. They came at night, 3 official hunters with class-given powers. One controlled blood, another bent light, the last wielded divine fire. Cale killed them all. He didn't remember how. He woke up in a crater, their bodies vaporized. His hunger had grown. The hollow in his chest was deeper. Whispers began, that he was the hollow god reborn, a failed god who had tried to eat the divine beast pantheon ages ago and had been sealed in pieces. But Cale didn't care for legends. Only one thing mattered. Who killed him the first time? And why did he come back with a soul that wasn't entirely his own? The corpse pit reeked of rotting flesh, bone dust, and rusted prayers. Somewhere beneath layers of the dead, a body twitched. Cale emerged, gasping, his skin caked in blood that wasn't his own. His breath steamed in the cold, and the world around him seemed too quiet, like it had stopped to watch. No heartbeat, no memory, just a hunger. He didn't know who he was, only that he had once been someone else. The sky above Bastion 7 was always gray, strangled by the storm coils that circled the rift. The fortress city stood on the edge of the world, the last outpost before madness took shape and walked. Hunters ruled here, men and women who bound the remnants of divine beasts to their bodies and wielded fragments of forgotten gods. Cale stumbled toward it like a man possessed. They found him collapsed at the gate, his veins black and glowing faintly, his eyes swirling with unnatural galaxies, a mark none of them had ever seen. "That one's hollow-born," someone whispered. "Put him down before he infects the bone." But they didn't. Curiosity stayed the executioner's hand, and in Bastion 7, curiosity was the seed of horror. They brought him to the Rite Hall, where new hunters were forged or shattered. Each initiate was given a bone shard, a fragment of a divine beast. The shard fused with the soul, granting power. Or it consumed you. They gave Cale the weakest one, a cracked fang of a cave lurker barely worth a scrap. The moment he touched it, the shard screamed. Then it melted, not from heat, but from absence. It was pulled into the hollow within him like water down a void. The other initiates stepped back. The Rite Master reached for a weapon. But then came the voice. It wasn't from the shard. It wasn't even from the hall. It came from inside Cale. "You are not meant to borrow. You are the vessel, the devourer, the last fragment of the hollow god." Cale convulsed. His arm mutated, silver bones protruding beneath skin stretched black. His senses exploded outward. He could smell fear, hear the heartbeat of the Rite Master as it stuttered. He could taste something ancient in the air, divine, hungry. He blacked out. When he woke, there were corpses around him. They tried to cover it up, said he had been possessed, that the rite had failed, and that the subject was terminated. But Cale wasn't dead. He was beneath the city, hiding in the bone undercroft, a labyrinth of relics, refuse, and buried shame. There, scavengers called bone rats whispered of the Hollow One, who had returned. As he recovered, he discovered something terrifying. Whenever he came near divine bone, it shivered. He didn't bind relics. He consumed them. Each time, he changed. From a fingerbone of a cloud strider, he gained speed so great the eye couldn't follow. From the rib of a blight beast, he developed a corrosive breath that melted through steel. But the powers came with echoes, pieces of memory, instincts not his own. He began to dream of skies torn open, of a god with no face devouring its kin, of betrayal, of the day the gods fell, not to war, but to one of their own. That Devourer was the hollow god, and Cale was its last fragment. The Council of Divine Hunters, those who ruled Bastion 7, grew uneasy. They had long guarded the truth, that the gods had not left but had been slain, that the relics they used were bones from their own betrayal. Cale's existence was proof of the lie. They sent hunters to kill him. They failed. Word spread beyond Bastion 7. Cults emerged. Some worshipped Cale, others vowed to end him. The Hollowborn were not a myth, they said. They were punishment. But Cale didn't care for their worship or their fear. He wanted only the truth. Who had killed him before? And why was he made this way? His journey took him beyond the rift, into the lands where reality faltered. There, in cities swallowed by vines and shadows, he found answers. He was not born. He was forged. Once, the hollow god had tried to consume all of divinity and ascend beyond being. But it was broken into pieces. Its heart sealed in the rift, its body scattered across the world, and its soul sealed into a mortal shell. Cale was that shell. The council had made him to contain the soul. But something went wrong. He woke up too early. He remembered too much, and he wanted it all back. As Cale devoured more relics, he changed. His body no longer resembled a man. His arms shimmered like starlight wrapped in bone. His voice echoed with power. Yet he still felt incomplete. He met others like him. Not hollowborn, but broken things. A woman with half a divine beast's heart who could summon storms but bled golden ichor. A boy cursed to remember every death he caused. A priestess whose prayers made relics shatter. They followed him, not out of loyalty, but because the world they knew was crumbling. The gods were dead. The hunters were corrupt. The relics were running dry. And the hollow god was waking. The council launched a final attack. They unleashed the archons, hunters who had grafted entire divine remains into their bodies, becoming monstrous gods in their own right. Cale fought them in the skies above Bastion 7, each battle peeling back more of his soul. He killed them. Slowly, carefully, taking only what he needed. But in the end, it wasn't power that broke him. It was memory. In the vault beneath the council tower, he found the last relic, a heartstone pulsing with light. His heart. When he touched it, everything returned. He saw the world as it once was, gods walking among men, the hollow god born from their shadows. A creature of need, not evil, made to consume so that balance could remain. But it grew too strong, so they tore it apart, and sealed the last piece, him, into a boy no one would miss. He had been raised like a relic, conditioned, killed, reborn, again and again. And now he remembered. Cale stood atop the ruins of Bastion 7, the fortress reduced to ash. He looked out at the world, no longer man, no longer God. A hollow, but no longer empty. He would not become the thing they feared. He would not devour the world. He would change it. The divine beasts had ruled, the hunters had inherited. Now it was time for something new. Not divine, not mortal, but whole. And so began the age of the hollow flame, not ruled by gods, but by those who remembered. Smoke still rose from the ruins of Bastion 7 weeks after the final battle. Scavengers crept through the charred bones of towers, picking through scorched relics and cooling ash. But none dared to approach the crater at the city's heart, where Kale had stood and the hollow flame had ignited. He hadn't been seen since. Many believed he had vanished, ascended, or burned himself away. They were wrong. He had gone beyond the rift. The rift's edge. There were no maps of the lands beyond the rift, only warnings carved into the bones of dead explorers. It was a place where time broke, where divine flesh still twitched in the soil, where gods had died screaming. Kale passed into it like mist through a doorway. He no longer feared the unknown. It was familiar. He was the unknown. The deeper he traveled, the more he saw signs. Colossal vertebrae taller than mountains, floating monoliths humming with echoes of prayers, and impossible beasts who had never walked the world of men. He consumed carefully, no longer out of hunger, but purpose. Each divine fragment gave him pieces of understanding, not just memories but glimpses of the true structure of the cosmos. The lattice, a divine web connecting all souls, all thought, all power, and it was broken. Worse, something was feeding on it. The Devourer beyond it called itself Vorak, the first Devourer. Long ago it had slipped between the strands of the lattice and begun feeding from the roots of reality itself. The gods had fought it, sealed it, and in their desperation, created a weapon to replace them if they fell. That weapon had been the hollow god. But even it had failed. Vorak was not dead. It was stirring again. And now, with the gods gone and the hunters in disarray, nothing remained to hold it back. Unless Kale could finish what he had been born to do, not just devour power, but devour the thing that devoured all. Reforging the Hunt Kale could not face Vorak alone. He returned to the edge of the world with a plan, not of conquest, but unity. He found his old allies scattered. Anya, the rogue archivist, had gone mad decoding relic code in the ruins of the First Temple. Rel, the cursed beast tamer, had fused with a god kite and now drifted in the skies like a living storm. Sarah, the priestess of shattering, had raised a new faction, the Flamebound, zealots who believed Kale to be divinity made flesh. He gathered them not as soldiers, but as anchors. Each of them represented a version of what the world could become. Madness, fusion, worship. He needed all three to stabilize his transformation. For Kale had discovered the truth. If he wished to destroy Vorak, he would have to become the hollow god again, completely. Not a fragment, not a man, but the full force of divine hunger, forged with will. Final devouring. The process was slow and horrifying. He dug up the old relics of his past lives, scattered across time loops and memory echoes. He found the sealed ribcage in the hollow wastes, the skull buried beneath the sanctum of echoes, the final tooth inside the council's last vault. Each part rejected him, until he bled identity, until there was almost nothing left but the flame of his purpose. He ate them all, and as he reassembled himself, not as a being of flesh, but as a divine anomaly, the sky noticed. Vorak tore through the lattice like a scream through silence. It descended as a great maw of starlight and bone, speaking in paradox and gravity. "You were made to be me," it whispered to Kale, "but you feared what I am. I am need. I am survival. You are denial." Kale did not respond in words. He leapt and devoured the sky. A new beginning. No one truly understood what happened that day. The stars changed their patterns. The rift closed. The divine relics cracked and stopped singing. But humanity did not vanish. In the silence that followed, new flame sparked. Not of gods, not of beasts, but of people. Kale, or whatever remained of him, had burned himself across the lattice to seal Vorak forever. His echoes lived in the relics, but they no longer granted power. They granted understanding. The age of worship was over. The age of choice had begun. And so ends the Devourer's legacy, not as a god, not as a monster, but as the one who chose to change.